go down and then you go up. Make it better, make it better. Down on the ground, it's just one way up. Make it better, make it better. If you stand by me, I will stand by you. To make it better, make it better.
Hello and welcome to Rise Up with Rebecca Seawright. I'm your host, Assemblymember Rebecca Seawright, representing the Upper East Side, Yorkville, and Roosevelt Island. I'm pleased to be joined by Howard Teich, who I've had the pleasure of working with on the East Side World War I Commemoration Committee, bringing attention to Sergeant York, whom York Avenue on the Upper East Side in Yorkville was named after. He also brought to life the East Side Freedom Square Coalition to bring aid and support to the Ukraine. And each September, together with our office and the community, along with other partners, he holds a 9/11 commemoration ceremony on the East River Esplanade. Howard has a wide range of background in business, civic, and social interests, and has participated actively in both the New York and national arena. Mr. Teich is president of the Howard Teich Network and a practicing attorney in New York City. I welcome you, Howard, to the show today, and tell us more about yourself and the committee. And we're looking forward to Veterans Day and the upcoming tribute to women veterans. We're planning a very special event that you will hear about today from Howard. So Howard, you could tell us a little bit about yourself and the committee that we formed for the Grove of Trees in Central Park.
Hi, Rebecca. I think the best way to start out is say what an admirer I am and how fortunate that I'm a friend and that we've worked together on so many things. It's been a great pleasure, and your staff is just beyond imagination. So
Thank
all
you.
of those good things. We're just fortunate on the East Side to have you as a representative for all of us. Yeah, we've done a lot of stuff together. I'm listening to you. I'm and it's really kind of amazing that it started out as a very simple thing, which is I heard that York Avenue had been named after Sergeant York. Approached you on it, and you said, "I'm co-chairing it with you," and we came up with the World War I thing, and out of that has come a range of things on the East Side that we've done. The Women's Veterans Day tribute, which is coming up on November 9th, which you mentioned, is something that's very, very special to all of us, because we discovered in Central Park that right after World War I, those brilliant people in New York set up a grove and a flagstaff, actually, to honor the women who served America overseas. Of course, they couldn't serve in the military at that time. They weren't allowed, but they were healthcare workers in many ways. And they set up a living grove to honor them in the 1920s. So we've picked it up. It's entrance at 69th Street. It goes up 2 blocks, and we've had just a formidable series of ceremonies now, this year topping even the one last year, Rebecca, that you well remember, where you had the governor come to it. So that's been quite extraordinary. I would just say one last thing and then turn it to you, which is one of the things that I think everybody should recognize, and it's really something, is the magnitude of talent and contribution that the people on the East Side have made, not only locally, but really to America and the world.
That's fabulous. And yes, we did have the governor last year join us for the Veterans Tribute, and hoping that she'll be able to join us again this year on November 9th. How can people get involved, Howard?
Well, that's interesting. As you mentioned, the variety of things that we did on the East Side, and all of them really have come out of a volunteer effort of teams of people who've gotten together. So I'd say 2 things. One, if you see something of enormous interest to yourself and other people that are recognition possible events. One of the things that Rebecca and I have talked about is that we should have more and more things, almost like a village, an East Side village, that we do these kinds of things on an ongoing way. She and I have collaborated on the ones that she mentioned, but there are so many other things, number one, that go on a regular basis that are extraordinary. I mean, it's a very activist East Side, and Rebecca is a leader of the team in so many ways with so many different things. But the way of getting involved is really getting involved. And the things we have, I know Rebecca shoots it out, other people send out things. And so the idea of, and the first one you can come to is 11 o'clock on the 9th in Central Park. And we're fortunate, we haven't yet announced the people who are going to be getting Women in Service Awards, but I can say it's really at the ultimately top level of women that you can imagine, both in terms of people who served in the military in the past, in the present, and served the city at the highest levels of participation.
And, some of the honorees this year, Howard, are very, very accomplished and have spent their careers in public service. And Laura Kavanaugh, who's the first FDNY commissioner to serve in New York City, Mecca Nelson, Gold Star spouse, and Tunnel to Towers Foundation ambassador, Viviana D. Cohen, director of the New York State Division of Veterans Affairs, Eva Commons, the command sergeant of the Major Fort Hamilton U.S. Army Garrison, Gail Coalicio, services to the Armed Forces Red Cross volunteer, and Juan Palasul, Navy veteran and founder of the Women's Veterans and Families Network. And Captain Haida Star Eagle, the first Native American intelligence officer in U.S. Space Force. And so we just want to encourage the community to come out for this wonderful, wonderful tribute. And like I said, we had the governor last year, and hoping she'll be able to join us again this year. The committee has worked very, very hard on it. And this all came about 4 years ago. So tell us a little bit about how this evolved, Howard, from a kind of an article that had been lost in the New York Times that was rediscovered that mentioned this grove of trees.
Yeah, and what's wonderful is looking at the past, present, and future. And Rebecca and I, one of the things that we've talked recently about is even in terms of the centennial, and that came out of the York Avenue thing, the centennial commemoration, where we had so many events over a 2-year period of centennial. But what we've now really talked about is the idea of looking forward. Centennial doesn't necessarily end at the 100th anniversary. It looks forward to as we looked at 1918 to 218, it looks to 218 to 2118, when we can all celebrate together again. But it was interesting, and it goes to this women's veterans group also, because a lot of things took place after World War I. That was a war to end all wars. It wasn't the World War II, so it wasn't called World War I. They were hoping that with the peace that would come, they would really bring peace to the world, because it was a devastating experience for the world. Women were marching in the streets for the right to vote. There were all sorts of things that were going on of activism that came out of it. And it's something that we need to look back to on a continuous basis in terms of where we are now. In terms of finding it, yeah, we found the article in the paper. It was 1932 from the New York Times, described hundreds of people coming to a ceremony in that grove. The grove was 24 trees that were planted at the time. In 32, when the article was, they planted 2 more for women who had contributed. And it really described what we're now continuing as a tradition the annual celebration. We want to expand on that and have this site, there are only a handful in the country of women's veteran sites, as a place that women can come to. Men, I suppose, too, celebrating women. But the sense of at a time where the country, there's a certain malaise, there's a certain darkness that's come in. We're trying to bring the light on all of it. You know, we have people who've done miraculous things for this country that are still going on. I mean, sometimes we don't see all of the extraordinary nature of people's contribution. And that's what we're trying to do in all of these things, as we did with Ukraine. Should I mention that for a second, Rebecca?
Yes. We held a press conference out on East 79th Street near Fifth Avenue. And took up a collection for Ukrainian relief. And so, yes, Howard, please speak toward that.
In Kharkiv, which is a city that was really under, and still is under attack, actually, on the Eastern Front. They had a Freedom Square, and Zelensky, who's the head of Ukraine, said, really speaking to Ukrainians at the time, but we heard it, that people should set up freedom squares everywhere because the Russians had bombed it. And it was the most beautiful square in Ukraine where people came to congregate and so forth. And Carl Schurz is one of the most beautiful parks you could ever imagine anywhere. And we decided to put together a group in the name of Freedom Square called the Freedom Square Coalition, still continues. And what Rebecca was referring to is a certain amount of money was raised. So we sent 6 kids to camp from Kharkiv to I guess it was Lviv that they had the camp, or in Poland. So out of their dismal surroundings, they were able to have a week of joy. And we're pleased we could do that because that's part of the givingness of who we are on the East Side.
Yes, and you know, now we are looking to organize collections and drives for all the people coming to New York as a sanctuary state, immigrating here. So Howard, we'll be talking to you further about that in the future. But I do want to mention some of the partners for the Flagstaff and Veterans event coming up on November 9th in Central Park: the American Red Cross, the New York City Department of Veterans Services, the Columbus Citizens Foundation, the Eastside World War I Centennial Commemoration, our office, the Office of Assemblymember Rebecca Seawright, and the Howard Teich Network. And we've also had great participation from our former Manhattan Borough President and current City Council member on the Upper West Side, Gail Brewer, and support from the other electeds. And so that kicks off at 11 o'clock on November 9th.
We're so delighted that the Conservancy has taken a continued interest in this, as well as the Parks Department. It's, you know, it's obviously Parks Department land, and the Conservancy watches over us and provides for us an amazing place to go. And now we have this new commemorative place right in our walking distance.
And to get there, it's really easy to find. You just enter Central Park at 69th Street and Fifth Avenue. And just a few hundred feet up to your right, you will see the Flagstaff and the grove of trees. So we do hope that you can come out and join us. We're hoping for good weather that day. And
that's
we'll
promised
have some,
already.
Yes, that's promised already. And so really looking forward to this special commemoration and memory of the past. And like Howard said, yes, go ahead.
I was just going to add one thing, because I think it's really the key of this. Women have had incredible service to our country. People don't, now they're recognizing it, but you go back 100 years or 200 years, and it wasn't so self-evident. when they put this grove in, it wasn't so self-evident. So it was an amazing thing that they stepped forward at the time and did this. And one of the things, and that's the wonderfulness of Google, is I would urge everybody to spend a little time going on Google and learning the history of what it really took for women to get the full kind of equality or approaching it that we have today. It wasn't easy. It was a time of, and on the back of our logo, Rebecca, as you know, we have a tribute to women from the centennial. And it really was marching and helping and doing and being separated out and not being accepted. This was only 100 years ago.
Mhm.
So it's come a long way, but people need to know the history of the march forward.
Absolutely. And, we think about our rights and women. And this summer, the governor added my Equal Rights Amendment bill, the Equality Amendment, to the agenda for the special extraordinary session in Albany in July, and it passed. And the Constitution in New York State has not been updated since 1938.
Wow.
And so it requires a bill to be passed twice, and then it's eligible to go on to the ballot as a referendum for the voters. So we're looking forward to passing that a second time this session cycle. Session kicks off again in the first week of January. And so it's especially meaningful and such a wonderful tribute to be honoring these women's veterans, along with the women leaders in the field that are making a difference and dedicating their life today to public service. So we do hope you'll all come out and join us at 11 a.m. on November 9th at the entrance of Central Park at 69th Street and 5th Avenue. And we'll be having a little music this year on the run of the show.
Sure. You going to sing?
No. I remember last year we had a
we had-
fabulous young person sing and provide music, and so there'll be some special entertainment.
And
as
we
well.
actually had a fellow who was on the trumpet one year saying America. It really is quite a beautiful ceremony, and the people who were being inducted will say a few words that'll last a bit over an hour, and memorable. We can promise that in advance. This year, by the way, the Red Cross is going to stream it. So it'll be available, and I'm not sure where, I mentioned on their website or their Facebook, I guess, and possibly on ours if it, is picked up. So we're getting bigger and better.
And also there's park benches around the site. So there will be a place for you to sit on a bench if you can't stand during the ceremony. And in prior years, it's been really hot. So if you want to bring an umbrella and protect yourself from the sun, or if it's windy and chilly, a light jacket as the season changes. But a wonderful opportunity to be in Central Park and to pay tribute to these women veterans.
And I would just add one more thing, Rebecca, which is, as long as people are over there, one of the things they don't realize is and there are two tour tracks they could take. One is going straight ahead and going to the left and go to the new women's monument that's in the park, which is wonderful, and past other things of interest to women. And the other thing is, in terms of World War I, it is a Veterans Weekend that we're approaching. Straight ahead, there's another field that was dedicated to people of World War I. The flagpole here was really World War I and II because it was rededicated after World War II. And if you go on 5th Avenue down 67th Street, there's an extraordinary monument right on the street to the veterans of World War I. So if you're planning on coming here, figure another hour and take advantage of the sites that are there. They're special, and they really instill in you an additional sense of New York's contribution to America.
Absolutely. And we want to encourage everyone to come out and attend this ceremony on Wednesday, November 9th at 11 a.m. To 12 noon at the corner of 69th and 5th Avenue, a few hundred feet in the park. for the Flagstaff and the Grove dedication to women veterans. And so Howard, we thank you for joining us this evening, and we look forward to this very special event coming up. I'm Rebecca Seawright, Assembly Member, Upper East Side, Yorkville, and Roosevelt Island, and I want to thank our viewers for joining in this evening. Our office is providing free winter flu shots as well as the COVID booster shot. So if you're in need of a vaccine, please call our office and register for a free shot at 212-288-4607. Thank you again for tuning in to Rise Up with Rebecca.
First you go down and then you go up. Make it better, make it better. Down on the ground, it's just one way up. Make it better, make it better. If you stand by me, I will stand by you. To make it better, make it better. I just need a break from everything that's fake. Give me some faith now. I just wanna